recording this presentation, so it's available to you. You'll be getting a link a little later today, and you can go over it again in your own time. If there's any questions at all, there should be a question button for you on your panel. So just type a question and I will keep an eye on it, and we will let Ryan know that you have something to say. If you have any questions, if you think of something after our presentation, not a problem at all. Just fire off an email to info@assistus.com. That's INFO @assistus.com. All right, Ryan, I think that's pretty much everything, and over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Stacy. Yeah, I'm Ryan Mullaney, and I've been working with the Microsoft Dynamics CRM product since it first came out in 2003. We've done many implementations over the years, and I'm very excited about CRM 2011. 2011's been out for almost a year now. But the interest, for whatever reason, really seems to be resurging. I suspect it's because we've given it a chance to sort of season a bit, and now we're all starting to really understand how we can implement this product and use it in a production sense and actually really enhance where we're going and what we can do with this product. So Dynamics CRM 2011 can easily be called the most significant release in the history of Dynamics CRM. There's over 500 new enhancements and a wealth of new features compared to CRM 4.0. What I wanted to do today, though, is yes, we will talk about the features an awful lot, but in addition, we're going to have a little bit of a discussion on how they can be used to enhance productivity and where these new features actually plug into the system. And as Stacy said, if you do have any questions, I welcome them during the presentation, simply because I think it just makes it more interactive and you know, give everybody a chance to ask some questions and get what they want out of this particular presentation. So the agenda for today is the road ahead, the power of productivity, the CRM feature review. Then I'm going to do a live demonstration, and then I'm just going to have a quick discussion on some sample license costs, so you have some idea what this product cost might be if you decide to implement. The road ahead. The economic recession is officially over, but many companies are still reeling or recovering from its effects. In short, the downturn has led to a very competitive landscape, and that shift has been further fueled by some key market trends. A more discerning consumer with a heightened sensitivity to price and value and service, unparalleled consumer access to vendor information, and erosion of barriers to switching. Consumers have changed the way they evaluate and purchase, driven by greater access to information, especially internet, social networking, etc. And in a culture of shopping around, it's not sustainable to compete on price alone. We really have to focus much more on customer service, efficiency, and really targeting that world-class customer experience. And that begins with your people. You can have a great website, you can have a great 1-800 phone number and call center, incredible marketing campaigns and a strong brand, but at the end of the day, it's the interaction with your people. And the only way that works is if you get the information that your people need at their fingertips when they need it in an automated fashion. So the innovations in Microsoft Dynamics CRM 2011 enable a wide variety of new capabilities that drive productivity gains, including the following. You can uncover new connections, both in terms of people and systems. And what we mean by that is there's a lot of hidden links out there in the world. You know, I always try to tell my people that there's at least 2 different chains of command in every company. There's the official chain of command, the CEO, the president, executive suite, and on down. And then there's the unofficial chain of command, which is usually who knows where things are, how to get things done, and is the person that your employees and you know, and just people go to for information. We want to focus on the right leads by more effectively qualifying and routing them. We want to be more effective in the team selling activities. We want to simplify work management with flexible queues and activities. We want to streamline problem resolution with guided processes and dialogues, and we want to attain real-time insight into the business with flexible dashboards and inline data visualization. Simply put, Microsoft Dynamics CRM 2011 helps organizations amplify their productivity, which is something that's referred to in the Microsoft universe as the power of productivity. And the power of productivity as it relates to Microsoft Dynamics CRM is based on 3 core tenets, which is it's familiar. It looks like it's always looked. It behaves in much the same way. It's intelligent. It helps users, and it helps your people actually work on the problems that are coming to the fore. So it bubbles up the activities that are due. It gives you warnings when things are overdue. It puts the filtering and the data that you need right at your fingertips. And third, it's connected and integrated. The ability for these tools to be familiar, to be very intelligent, and to facilitate connectivity have been the focus points for Microsoft CRM for the last, well, I guess every version, but they've certainly hit the nail on the head this time around. So we're going to take a look at the familiar, which is the natural and personal aspect of Microsoft CRM. So the first of these, and the one that one of the ones that is most impressive, although probably least appreciated, is that users have a fluent UI. If they're using Office today, then using Microsoft CRM is exactly the same. You know, the buttons are all in pretty much the same spot. The labels are going to be pretty much the same. It behaves in much the same way. And this is important for user adoption. The reason we want to make sure that this happens is there's a lot less training. If you have different UIs where the labels are different, the fields are not in the same spot, you're always looking for different spots for the print button, that sort of thing, there's a lot of different ways that, that a user can get lost and can refuse to adopt a new product. Another key advantage of 2011 is the CRM ribbon. It was originally implemented in Microsoft Office 2007, but it was limited to Word, Excel, Access, and PowerPoint. But in Office 2010, the ribbon is introduced across many Microsoft applications, including Microsoft Dynamics CRM. The ribbon in CRM 2011, like the other applications, is contextual. So with each feature or form, it changes to show the most relevant information and commands. Oops, sorry about that. Next generation
Ryan?
Outlook client.
Oh, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. I was trying to get you a second there. Jane has a quick question here. So,
Okay.
Jane, let me just unmute you. There we go. Go ahead.
I just wanted to know hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm afraid I'm a little bit of a newbie and I don't understand some of your terms.
Okay.
What a UI is, or contextual, or ribbons.
Oh, geez, I'm geeking out on everybody
You're
already.
geeking out on us. You're geeking. Sorry.
That's okay. A UI is just the user interface. So when you open Outlook and you're working in the Outlook application, the short geeky term for that is user interface, or an even shorter and geekier term is UI.
Okay.
And what was the other one?
The ribbon.
The ribbon. Okay, across the top, I'll point this out to you. Can you see my mouse?
Yep.
I'm moving it around.
Yep.
Across the top there, you can see a ribbon. That's what they call it. It's that broad band there with all the buttons on it. So what that is instead of going down here and trying to find, sometimes there are buttons over here and up here, everything you need to control this particular UI is right here. So, and as you change the different forms, these buttons change so that they're actually contextual, or they actually can influence or do something for that particular record.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking the question. If you're asking it, other people are thinking it, so I appreciate that. Okay. All right. So,
Sorry, Ryan. Keith just has a quick question as well. So here we go, Keith.
Hey, Ryan.
Hi, Keith. How you
On the
doing?
previous screen, you had embedded subgrids.
Okay.
What's that?
I will back that up. An embedded subgrid. Can you see here? See where the blue box is?
Mm-hmm.
Inside that, you can actually present your information. So in the old, in the CRM4 system, you actually clicked on tabs to find your different bits of information. So, you'd have a tab for notes, and then inside that would be a little grid that showed all your notes there, right?
Yep. Yep.
In this version, you only have the one, it's called a flat UI. So, Jane, you remember what UI means, right? So it's called a flat UI. And what that means is that instead of having a lot of tabs, it's one scrollable system. So what they've done to present the data for linked records and notes and that sort of thing is they've actually put the UI, the embedded subgrid, right into that single form. So if you think of a subgrid as being, something equivalent to an Excel spreadsheet that's presenting data, you can actually stick any one of those right into the middle of the form.
Gotcha. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, Keith. Geez, all of a sudden I feel like I'm on a radio talk show. Okay. Any others, Stacy? Or?
Nope, not so far. I think we can go ahead.
Terrific. Great questions, guys. Thank you so much. Okay. So the next generation Outlook client. Again, I'm very impressed with this particular feature because what it enables is in CRM4, and I apologize that I keep referring to CRM4, but half my audience uses CRM4 and the other half of my audience I don't believe has any kind of a CRM. So for those that use CRM4, you probably realize that when you use Outlook, inside of the anything to do with the CRM record is a web interface. Okay, so what I mean by that is that it's Internet Explorer, even though it's inside Outlook. There's a little web browser. You can't do any controls, and all it does is present records. But in CRM 2011, that has actually gone away, and every bit of data that you see is actually presented using a native Outlook module or a native Outlook code. So there's no more web browser, and what that means is that you can do a lot more with your data. As you can see in this picture here, they've filtered some of the data to be read, and they can do a lot of different things with it. So anything you can do with an Outlook record, such as use follow-ups or tag it and link it to somewhere else or associate a task with it, you can do all those same functions with your CRM records now. As you can see here, it says Outlook reminders on CRM records, and I'll get into that in the demonstration. Role-tailored forms. This is another really powerful feature I find. A role-tailored form just simply means that if you have a record, such as an account or a contact or an opportunity, and you're using your CRM system to manage people, then you're going to have different levels or layers of people, and they're going to have different requirements as far as what they need to see on a form. So if you're in a call center, you're probably going to see a lot of detail for any service case or activity you're working on. But if you're a call center manager or maybe the director of operations, you probably want to see a much more cut down, simplified version of that because you're processing and going through a lot more records. So that's what role-tailored forms allows you to do. So as a customer service rep, I can see everything I need to in my record. But if I'm the operations manager, for example, I'm the only one to see the name of the contact, the name of the company, and when our next service activity might be scheduled. And you can modify it, move it around like that. It doesn't mean that you can't drill into the more detailed record as a manager, but as a default, you can set it up so you don't have to. And it's all based on the same record. There's nothing the user has to do because when their role is set to a manager, they get access to this particular role-tailored form. If their role is set to a CSR, they get access to a different form. Enhanced navigation. Another great feature I find. What this allows is, as you can see here, you can actually look at your recently visited, so anything that you've done recently. So when you're working in CRM, one of the things with CRM is that it is it's a pretty record-heavy product. So you're, in a lot of cases, especially, again, in CRM4, you'd have to hunt around and find, your record. Once you closed it, you have to go back into it, and you'd have to navigate through a few menus to do that. In 2011, you no longer have to do that. You can actually, if you're working in a record a lot, such as, say, a major sales opportunity or a service case that's, quite substantial, you can actually pin it. So you can see here you can pin it to your recently visited view, and it can stay there permanently, so you can always be opening it up. Also, all your last recently visited links are in there as well. The data export and import function in CRM 2011 has really improved. The data import wizard, it still imports Excel spreadsheets as it always has, or as we like to say in in our little geeky world, it's called a CSV, or a comma separated value spreadsheet. But if you think of it as an Excel spreadsheet, that's close enough. And the way it works is that if you use a lot of spreadsheets, so say you need to export your contacts from your current accounting system and import them into CRM. You would export them as a CSV or an Excel file, and then somebody would create the data import map using this data import wizard. Once that's completed, then anybody has access to that map, and they can automatically go to and open that Excel spreadsheet and import that data. The other really powerful feature that I'm very excited about is you can re-import data. So what does that mean? Well, using the example of having to import your contacts or your accounts from your accounting package, and you need to do an update, say on a monthly basis, that just becomes part of your office close routine. You may want to export those. Then you can actually import that same data into CRM again, and it won't create new records. What it will do is update your current records. So you can keep your contacts and accounts in CRM synchronized with your contacts and accounts in your accounting system, and you don't even need to have an expensive integration module in the middle keeping those things synchronized automatically. A lot of this depends on the number of transactions and the number of contacts you have. At some point it does become cost effective, obviously, to integrate, but right off the bat, if you're a fairly small organization, this is a nice way to keep your records synchronized, and other than perhaps 15 minutes of your time, it really doesn't cost anything. In addition, we have Power Pivot and Office Web App support, and what that is just like right now you can export data back into an Excel spreadsheet, so you can analyze it. You can throw graphs or something against it. This just allows you to do that, but you can also access it from the Office 365 suite of products. Flexible activities. Every CRM and every contact management system in the world has some method of tracking activities. So an activity is a phone call, an email, a fax, something along those lines. So anything you create and generate in Outlook is typically an activity, or else it's a record like a contact or an account record. CRM4 and previous to that were limited in the number of activities that they could produce. So there were some standard activities such as phone call, email, fax, etc. Plus there was one special one called a service activity. Now they've widened the scope of that a bit, so you can actually create a number of custom activities. So instead of having to rename the phone activity, you can now create a new activity and have it represent whatever you need. So if you are doing a special type of service call in the field, you can create a custom activity for that particular call. Bulk actions, you can now set activities. Anybody uses CRM4 and ends up with a record with a lot of activities that have to be manually closed prior to closing the record itself. You now no longer have to do that. You can actually click the bulk actions and you can complete all the actions. You can set them all to the same setting or the same status in one or two button clicks. There's also event-driven activities such as case resolutions, and there's reoccurring appointments. So that's the other huge feature that I see as an upgrade between CRM4 and 2011. In CRM4 you could not have a recurring appointment that was available in Outlook and synchronized to CRM. In 2011 you can. Products and pricing improvement. Write-in products can now be instantly added to opportunities, which is very useful for sales organizations that when you don't have a rigid product list, or for service organizations that have to provide work for hire. So it's loosened the constraints quite a bit. You no longer have to keep continually updating price lists. You no longer have to have that synchronized necessarily with your accounting system. If you have a good estimating process, you can just leave it in as more of a free-form text or a free-form pricing process. You can also have negative prices now, which helps with discounts, and they show up on your invoices and things like that now. And you can have custom currencies. So in CRM4 you can have all the national currencies. Now you can create a custom currency, which in some cases might be beneficial if you're looking, you might have a loyalty program or something where a point is equivalent to, a Canadian penny or something along those lines. Productivity enhancements. We now have dynamic marketing lists. In CRM4 you had marketing lists, but every time you wanted to use it and you had to update the marketing list, you had to actually go in and run a filter against it manually. Now, if you want to, you can set the marketing list to dynamic, And what that means is every time it gets used in a campaign or a bulk email activity, it will automatically update itself using the filters that are assigned to it. And it will eliminate anybody who no longer meets those criteria. So I'll give you a simple example. If you invite somebody to an annual event, say you've got a summer barbecue or something along those lines, and you only want to invite people who do a certain level of revenue per year with you, then if you build a marketing list that's called summer barbecue, then it can have a filter set up that says only those who are generating, who have a total amount of invoices that equate to, say, just pick a number, $10,000. You can invite them to your barbecue, and that will happen automatically versus before you had to go in and update it manually. There's now a total record count. I don't know if you can see that on here or not, but instead of before where it said you had up to 250 and then you had to click through every page to see the rest of the count, it's now actually at the bottom of the screen, and it's updated with the total record account. You now are able to do bulk email attachments as well. So in CRM4 you could do bulk emails, but you can never do a bulk email attachment. And then finally there's rich text emails, which is just another method of doing emails. If you're used to using the the web client email in CRM4, then you're kind of limited. You can't bold the text, you can't do colors. There's a lot of things you can't do if you want to use that web client email as opposed to Outlook. With the rich text email, you actually are able to make those colors, and it's just a much more personal feel. So, sorry, I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit, but for those that have not used a CRM or Microsoft CRM before, there's actually two different clients that you can access at the same time. One of them is Outlook, which I've kind of gone into in some detail here, but the other is you have a web-based client, a browser-based client. So you can run it in Internet Explorer or Chrome or one of these other browsers. And CRM comes with its own built-in email client. So that's what I'm talking about here is these rich text emails. I always found them kind of ugly and tough to use in CRM4, but in 2011 they're actually much more personable and much more usable. So that's the first part, the familiar. So what we're trying to get across there is, although there's some really good features, it shouldn't be a shock to those of you that are using CRM4. It should be an intelligent upgrade. For those of you that haven't used CRM in the past, obviously, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve, but at the same time, it does look a lot like Outlook. The buttons are pretty much all in the same place now, so it's not going to be a super steep learning curve for you. Any questions? Okay, if you have any questions, get to, you know what to do. Raise your hand. The next part is the intelligent tenant of the design parameters for CRM 2011. And what we're looking at here is we're trying to find things that are insightful and actionable. First of those is real-time dashboards. Real-time dashboards are a new feature in 2011. They're available in one version of CRM4, and that was CRM4 Online. But in 2011, the real-time dashboards are a default setting, so when you open Outlook, you can actually go to the real-time dashboard as your first point of entry into the CRM system. And what's really nice about them is that they can be configured to show the data that you and your users need. You're not stuck with one standard dashboard. You can have as many custom dashboards as you need, and you can have right there in your face what it is you need to get done for that day. So you can see here that there's a map with delivery points on it. So that's maybe that's the key job sites for the day for this particular operator of CRM. They've also got a graph here, a sales pipeline, and a revenue chart here. In addition, it's not shown here, but you can also put things like tasks. So if you have any tasks that are coming up due today, they can go right in another window here, right in your dashboard. And I'll show that in the live demo when we get to that point. Guided dialogues. This is another exciting feature if you have a lot of customer interactions that are fairly sophisticated, and maybe you have a call center with, perhaps, not everybody's experienced, they all need some training. This is a nice way to help people out a bit. What it does is it allows for a guided flow and prompts the questions that come up, and those questions are actually captured against that particular record. So let's give an example of somebody who calls into a call center. The operator at the call center opens up the lead, opens up the dialogue, and they can proceed to ask questions based upon what the person calling in is requesting. So let's say it's a simple service call and we need to trap information such as first name, last name, what the incident or the issue is, maybe some warranty information, an address, that sort of thing. You can set that up and you can have as many of these dialogues as you want associated with with any record type that you want within the system. A lot of different data types can come up, and so there's radio buttons, there's drop downs, there's all kinds of good stuff. So for most service companies, it's really valuable from a service side. So it gives your operations managers something to train against for their people, and you can actually customize it so as your process changes, you just go in and change the dialogue, and your operators can just keep asking the questions that are popping up in the dialogue. The system the dialogues are also interactive with the CRM record and the CRM data. So what I mean by that is that not only can you pop a dialogue and ask questions and fill in the blanks, but in some cases where it's necessary or important, you could actually have information show up in the dialogue so that the operator doesn't have to jump around to different records to see things. So if you're talking about something, say a service call, somebody calls in and wants their furnace fixed, for example, you could actually have a price pop up and say, the delivery charge on that is $25 or $50 or whatever it might be. Inline visualization sort of corresponds to the dashboard, but it allows you to actually do live analysis of the data while it's in the system. So for example, you can gather a list of, let's say you've got a list of opportunities and you want to see which ones are most likely to close, so you can do a bit of a cash flow forecast. You can actually literally do that right inside CRM. In CRM4, you pretty much had to export that data to Excel to make that happen. In this version, you can actually drill right down into your data on the screen, and you can see things like this particular graph here is showing a breakdown of where these leads came from, and the orange one is the trade show. You could literally click on that and drill down into that, and you'll see a list of all the leads that came from that trade show. There's a number of pre-built visualizations that come with Microsoft CRM, and you can also create your own visualizations. Conditional formatting. Some people in the world really like to use Outlook, and they like to color code everything and break it up into little inboxes, one for their boss and one for customers and things like that. You can now apply that same filtering criteria directly to CRM records. So you can see in this case we've got open leads, and they're color-coded based on the rating. So we've got greens, which are warms, and we've got reds, which are hots, and blues, which are cold. And they are actually set up so that the actual text in the list here, you can see which are your hot leads, which are your cold leads, and so on. And again, you can do that for any record type. So, if I'm a service manager, one of the areas I'd want to look at is, am I getting close to a due date or a delivery date for the particular service I'm trying to manage, in which case I might want to have, a progression of colors with red being, we're either due or we're overdue, and it'll actually change live as your parameters, are clicked across. So if you're, 2 days ahead of the service date, it might be green. 1 day ahead, it might be yellow, and then on the day of delivery, it might be red, and the day after, it might be red but with big text or something along those lines. And you can do that for any record within the CRM. Goal management, another powerful feature. Goal management in most CRMs typically is just a dollars or a financial goal. Within Microsoft CRM, you can actually have goal management set for any record type. So where goal management, a financial goal management makes sense for sales reps, it doesn't make so much sense for service-based people. So in which case, maybe you have a telemarketer and you want them to be doing, 100 outbound calls a day. You can set them with a goal to do that at the daily level, at the weekly level, or at the monthly level, or even quarterly or whatever you want. You can also roll that up into team goals. So if you have a call center team and they're trying to, they're more of an inbound call center and they have to take X number of calls per day, you can actually set that up for individual as well as team goals. And again, you can do amount, count, or stretch-based goals. and they all roll up. So you can have a team inside a bigger team, inside a division, and the whole thing can roll up to a single individual with their goal. And you can have multiple goals as well. So an individual might have an activities-based goal as well as a financial goal. Enhanced queues. If you're using queues and you understand that, queues are sort of like a big to-do list, but for teams as opposed to individuals. So if you've got a team that does, well, I'll use the example at Assistus. We use queues a lot for project management and for service delivery management. So we have one queue for our infrastructure folks. We've got one queue for our help desk. We've got one queue for our developers, and we've got another queue for our analysts. And what we do is, if we're in the midst of a project or putting together a service call, then we will actually assign activities to a queue, and the people in that team can see that queue and see the activities assigned to it, and they can take the next one off the top of the list. The increased or the better features in CRM 2011 now is that you can use queues against any entity. You can also have team-based queues, which are quite powerful. And what that means, in CRM 4, you're kind of limited. If somebody took an activity out of the queue, it was pretty hard to see it again because it was assigned to that individual and it disappeared from the queue. With team queues, you can actually leave all your activities in the queue, but you can see who's working on it. So it becomes easier to manage those activities. You can, of course, still do check-in and check-out, and there's actually queue routing now. So what that means is as one activity is complete by department or team A, you can automatically be routed to team B, if additional work needs to be done. So, if you're building a house, you got to start with your concrete pour. That would be team A. Once that's done, you would go to framing, perhaps, and that would be team B. And that activity could click along to every one of those teams until the job was done. Business auditing. Probably the most requested feature enhancement from CRM 4 to 2011 is auditing. Now auditing is system-wide and it's built right in, including custom entities. Every record or every field within a record can now be audited. And the audit is associated to that record. If and administrators and people with the permissions can see those audits. So it's a really terrific feature because it tracks everything that happens to a particular piece of data or a particular field within a record. So if you have to change an address in a record, then whoever does the actual change, it's noted as an audit, which is just a separate line item that you can see here. So in this case, we've got the change date, who changed it, what the event was, what the change field was, what the old value was, and what the new value was. So very powerful, and certainly a big gap in capability between or in CRM 4 that's now been addressed. You can also have pre-configured audit rules, which means that the audit changes have access to the workflow engine, so you can trigger events to happen in workflow. So let's say somebody makes a change to let's just say they put an account on hold. That can trigger an event where all key managers and perhaps your business development or your sales rep knows immediately that this particular account has been placed on a credit hold. That's what that means.
Ryan?
Field level security.
Ryan,
yes.
Sorry. We have a quick question. Jane would like to ask you something. So
Okay.
Jane, I'm just going to unmute you here. All right, go ahead.
Hi, Jean.
Hi, Ryan. There is, I'm just wondering about the auditing that you were just talking about and that it can track on any field. Can it track on, you were saying previously that you can create new fields, so can you audit those fields as well, or is it just the fields that kind of come with it as standard fields?
No, good question. I should have mentioned that. You can audit any field, including custom fields that you've just created.
Okay.
And it does that. It does that as soon as you create the field. That's another nice feature about Microsoft CRM is as soon as you make a configuration change or a customization like that, the system is smart enough to go, yep, that needs to be included as an audit feature, so you can turn it on, the auditing on and off for that field. But also in terms of customization, it will add it and make it a searchable field. Like once upon a time, setting up new fields in a system like this was very difficult because you had to not only configure it on the user interface, but you had to configure it for all the other systems, so you needed to make sure that the database was set to say this is searchable, and things like audit were turned on, and all the rest of that. That's all pretty much gone away, and you set that all up as part of your customization if you have to add another field.
So there's a toggle that you can either have it included in the audit or not then?
That's correct.
Okay.
The audit is at the field level. I mean, you could turn it on for everything, but typically not everything needs to be audited.
Right.
And it does add, it does slow down your system. I mean, if you wanted to turn on auditing on everything, I don't know what the impact would be, but it would be slower than if you just audited the select critical records.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. This is great. I like the questions. Field level security. Field level security is available for custom fields. And so what a field level security means is this is based on the role. So if you are, say, a customer service representative role, then you may not need to see or know what the credit limit is for a particular account. If, on the other hand, you're the controller or the sales rep, you probably would have permission to see that particular field and what the data was installed in it. And there's a lot of different ways this can be set up. So you can set it up so obviously you can have full access to all the data in that field, or you can set it up so that somebody can enter the data and then not see it once it's been entered. So it's hidden, but they get a chance to write it but not read it, or they don't see it at all, and it's grayed out. Finally, we're going to talk a little bit about collaboration and integration. Again, I think a very powerful part of Microsoft CRM 2011, and the first of these is the connections aspect. So when you get designing CRMs, and you've done quite a few of them, after a while you start to realize that a lot of what CRM design is about is how you can connect record type A to record type B. And in CRM4 it could be done, and it was using a process called relationships. However, it was somewhat limited. You could only relate, contacts to other contacts and things like that. What they've done now is they've created an interface called connections, which enables you to connect any entity to any other entity. So, I was working on one project one time where we were trying to track spousal relationships, which doesn't sound too bad until you realize that we were also talking about divorced spousal relationships. And then another requirement came along, and we had to actually add all family members, including stepchildren. And it got to be very complicated, and it involved a lot of coding, and it was quite expensive to actually put together in a previous version of CRM. In CRM 2011, you'd actually be able to replicate all that with connections and do it very simply and very quickly. So you could have a connection between say, spouse A and spouse B, spouse A and ex-spouse, C, for example. Or another example is if you're in the sales end of things, you probably typically want to track external influencers to a particular opportunity. So good example of that is if you're dealing, let's say I'm trying to sell accounting systems. Well, I not only have to deal with the business owner and the controller within that business, as an example, but likely I'm going to have spend some time working with the external accountant or consultant who manages the taxes and the books. Well, I can't list that accountant as a contact against the business that I'm selling this product to, but I can link it as a connection, and I can call that an influencer, or I can call that a check signer, or anything like that. Another good example is, in our case at Assistus, for the support side of the business, we spend a lot of time dealing with third-party support elements. So, the Shaws of the world, the Teluses, anybody who provides internet access or some other kind of technology. And we track those third-party relationships this way. So, if you have an account on my CRM, chances are we know who your Shaw account manager is, and that would be a connection within CRM. Contextual document management. This is a feature that I will be showing in the live demo, and what it is now the integration between SharePoint and CRM is very tight. For those of you that don't know or aren't terribly familiar with SharePoint, Microsoft has two sort of management systems. This one that we're demoing is the client management or the people management system, like a customer relationship system. And the other one that Microsoft has is a document management system, which is called SharePoint. SharePoint is available on any Windows server that has been purchased since about 2003, and it's free of charge. What the document management system does, this is SharePoint, what it does is it allows you to set up document management rules. So if you have a particular type of document, let's say an estimate of some sort, and you want to keep it around for no more than 2 years because after that it's not relevant anymore because the costs have changed too much. You can actually set up a template, give it a name, so that everybody has to use that particular template, so that single version, and then it can have a business rule that says, okay, after 24 months we're going to move this to an archive, and after another 6 months we're going to actually delete it or get rid of it. Another example of a workflow is an expense report. So one of your employees can fill in an expense report, trigger a workflow, and it can go through the expense approval process. And it's smart enough to know that if it's a small expense claim, you can set a limit. Say, if you want to say an expense claim of $100, that can just go to the manager, be approved, and be paid. If it's a big expense claim, say over $500, then maybe it has to route to your controller or route to your CFO or something like that. So that's one aspect of the document management. So what Microsoft did, as opposed to trying to create the whole thing again in CRM, is they said, we're just going to integrate with SharePoint. And what they've done is they've created a very simple way to integrate with your SharePoint system. You can actually set up document libraries. When I think of a document library, I typically think of like a shared drive, like a T drive or a U drive on your server. But it's more powerful than that because it's actually smart enough to know, hey, this is a folder or a library for this particular customer, and inside that I'm going to associate records to, documents to record types such as opportunities or leads or contacts or whatever. And we can start associating different record types to different areas within SharePoint. So it's not just a lump of documents being dumped in one spot. It's smart enough to be able to break it down by customer or by record type or by document type and filter and sort in that manner. So incredibly powerful document management that you can just literally click into place with CRM. In addition, sorry I should mention this, the SharePoint does also track your changes and tracks version controls. So if you're creating an estimate or a proposal and you're working on, say, version .1 and you need it to go to an approval source such as your boss, and when that person approves it by literally hitting the approve button, the versioning can actually automatically kick up to version 1.0, and everybody now knows that that's a publishable version of that document. Social media. For some people, social media is life or death, and for other people, social media is, what's that? Suffice it to say that there is a fair bit of integration within social media. It leans heavily on what's built into Outlook 2010, and that aspect is called the social connector, and it hooks directly into LinkedIn, Facebook, and Windows Live, and there's more being done all the time. In fact, there's a new release or an upgrade of CRM 2011 that's coming along here right smartly, and it actually widens the scope of the other websites that can be connected to in a social manner. And in this case, the new update is actually focusing on Twitter feeds. So if you've got customers that do a lot of Twitter type feeds, then you can actually track their responses and what they're saying, and that can be associated to, say, their contact record or wherever it makes sense. There's a lot of good reasons you'd want to do this. I mean, first off, in many cases your competitors are doing this, but really, ultimately, it's good to know who you are that you're dealing with. In a lot of cases, if you can see some of their social connections and their links, it helps you as a service provider or as a vendor understand that particular individual's situation a little better. Team management. In CRM4 and in previous versions, you could only individuals could own records. So that individual could control access to that particular record, and they had the right to share it or not share it or assign it or do what they want with it. In 2011, there's actually a concept of team ownership of records. So if you have a support center where people are, clocking in, clocking out, they go on vacation, that sort of thing, there's no limitation, there's no hidden records because every record is owned by or is accessible by everyone on that team. Again, you can have team security roles. There's roll-up reporting, which means that the teams can be reporting on those documents. So any activities that happen to those records can be rolled up so that you can have a single consistent interface, even though it's a lot of different people that are looking at those records. Workflows can be team-based as well now. Declarative design. If this is how you would go about changing or customizing the form in your Microsoft CRM. So before, what you had to do in CRM4, you had to go and set up your attributes first. So that would be defining your field. What kind of field is it? Is it a drop-down? What are the values in the drop-down? Or is it a text field? Is it a radio button field? That sort of stuff. Now that's all done on one simple single page, and you can literally just drag and drop your fields wherever you want them to go. And another important feature is the entity header and footer. So you can put key information that always needs to be present in the header up here, as well as in the footer at the bottom of the record. And then in the middle, this part just scrolls. Dynamics Marketplace. There's literally thousands, if not tens of thousands, of different vendors with third-party software that you can go in and have a look at. In many cases, they're very, very focused on a particular vertical. So chances are, there's a very good chance that you're going to find something that's very specific to your solution. A lot of click and try, a lot of in-app experience. It's a very, Microsoft is really pushing this hard, and it's starting to gain some traction. I'm seeing a lot more interest in it, and people are starting to refer to it a lot more than they did in the past. Solutions management. This is really getting a little geeky for those that aren't terribly techy. But what it is for those that are is you can now have custom modules. So if you make a change to a record or something along those lines, or even more sophisticated changes, the entire module is now sort of built up as a package, and that can be exported as one discrete package and imported into your system. So those of you that administrate a CRM4 system probably have gone through the pain of having to update each individual entity, pull in the new reports, add the workflow, et cetera, et cetera. And these are all individual steps that you have to do to update the system. In 2011, you can actually get a package or a module where you can just load that single module, and it includes everything that's necessary for all those customizations. So there's no more risk of overwriting previous customizations. It's all done in one discrete package, and you can set it up as a managed or an unmanaged solutions, which just basically means if you can lock out any changes at all to that customization. So if I were to load, if somebody hired Assistus to build some customizations, we could load it up and we could lock out the user or the system administrator of our target system so that we know that no changes have been made to that code. Likewise, we could leave it open so that other customizations can happen within that system. Developer tools, again, we're getting a lot more sophisticated development tools. .NET 4.0 is acceptable, .NET data types, and we're now using an open data protocol, and all these features are available in both the online and on-premises systems. So at the end of the day, they've really done a lot of work here. I think it's quite an outstanding upgrade that I do believe is really going to facilitate and help people adopt this system and actually make it far more productive than in the past. And it wasn't a bad system before by any means, but what they've done now is they have really amped up the intelligent design of the user interface so that we can actually have a customized experience for every user on the system so they can be more efficient and more productive. In addition to those enhancements, there's about another 455 that you can see here that they've added to this system. And the way Microsoft is rolling out the updates for 2011 is it's no more sort of monthly updates where they're just fixing patches like they were in CRM4. In most cases, they're doing a quarterly update, but what they're doing is adding new features. The intent behind that is they don't want to have customers be forced into another upgrade of a major release. So going from CRM4 and upgrading to 2011 is a major release, and there's a fair bit of work that needs to be done to make that happen. But from that point forward, CRM 2011, you should be getting little quarterly updates that are much less strenuous and much less difficult to accommodate. the idea behind that is that once you're on 2011, you should never have to do another major update or upgrade of your system ever. It'll be a lot of little small incremental upgrades that typically are much more manageable from a system management perspective. Okay, I'm going to set up a quick demonstration, and while I do that, if there's any questions at all, this would be a great time to ask them.
Right, doesn't look like we have too many questions at the moment. As usual, feel free to just, oh, sorry, never mind. We have one question here. Jane, hang on.
Hi, Jane.
Hang on, let me unmute you here. Let me find you on my list. There you go.
You knew I had another question. Talking about the contextual document management, can it merge, like if you had a document, could you create mergeable documents that would merge with the live data in your accounts?
Yep, that's built right into the system. So if you're looking to do a proposal and you want to push a button and print out a consistent looking proposal with the cost estimate being pulled from a record in CRM, yeah, absolutely, that's a built-in feature. What it uses is word mail merge.
Right.
So you can use, and this is how we generate our proposals, is we just, once we're happy with the proposal as an opportunity in the system, we can hit the button, do a mail merge between the data in CRM and a standard template that we use for our document.
And then you would say, where would you save that document? That if you were doing a proposal for a client, where would you save that document with that had the data in it? Would you save it?
It saves it automatically as an activity type, so that would probably be a letter activity type.
Okay.
And it associates that to the record as well as to the user, or sorry, to the customer.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. That's what I needed to know.
Perfect. Not a problem. That's what we're here for. Okay, so I thought I'd start with some dashboards. So can everybody see my screen? You should be able to. Yep, looks like you can. Okay, so what this is, what we're looking at right now is Microsoft CRM 2011 in Outlook. All right, so Outlook is up here. You can see I've got my inbox and my sent items and my deleted items. So if I click over there, you'll see that the ribbon changes. I don't actually have any email in this demo system, so that's why it's blank. But you can see I could create a new email. So for all intents and purposes, well, it's just Outlook at this point. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to jump down, or sorry, I'll show you my navigation. So this is the ribbon, the highly touted ribbon that we were talking about. Across the top are just some menu buttons, and you can see there's a new one called CRM. And if we open that up, you can see there's some items on the ribbon button that are specific to CRM, such as creating a CRM activity and so on. If I go down the side here, anybody who's familiar with Outlook won't have any problems with navigating to the CRM portion of Outlook because it's exactly the same. You can see you start with a folder. So we've got one for Outlook, we've got one for Paul who's just got a mailbox in the system, and we've got a sample site set up called Shanahan's. So inside that I've got a number of folders that kind of help me navigate to the different areas of CRM. So I've got one for workplace, sales, marketing, so on. And these labels are all changeable. So if you need, if you don't actually sell, like if you're a service institution of some sort, you could change this from sales to outreach or whatever you need, and that label will replicate and change throughout the whole system. Where was I trying to get to? Hit the wrong button. Workplace. So inside this we've got a couple of areas. So this is where most people will work within CRM. So if I click on My Work, you can see here that I've got a number of little helpful areas that tell me what these different things do. Because when you start out, there's an awful lot of them, and it's not always clear what each of these are. So in this case, I want to show you guys the dashboard. So I'm going to go over here to Dashboards, and it hopefully tells you it's a dashboard. When I open up the dashboard, you can see here that I've got a number of different items that are germane to me as an operator of this system. In this case, I'm a sales-focused operator. So I've got my sales pipeline, and you can see in this case it's broken into 3 stages, but you can have as many as you want. So we've got prospects, we've got qualify stage, and we've got the closing stage. And if I want to, I can actually blow that up and make this particular chart bigger if I want to dig into it and see what else is going on here. And if I X out, I go back to the standard dashboard size. I can also drill down and actually click on here and just examine these particular records. So if I want to see what's a prospect and what looks like it's going to move forward, I can do that by just filtering on these particular items here. I have a leads by source campaign, and then I also have an opportunities by product type, and these are all drill throughs. And Jane, I think it was you that was asking a little bit about custom fields. This is an example of how a custom field can be set up quickly, and it can just be integrated into the whole system, because this product type is a new field that was created in an opportunity. So you can see here that we've got hardware and toilet seats and washroom stalls and that sort of thing, and that was actually it's literally a two-step process. You add the field to the record you want to, and then it's available, and you can build a chart around that field immediately. And again, it's drill down. You can actually do all your analysis that you need to right here with this set of tools. Below that, you can see down here, here's all my up-and-coming activities, and I can filter this by however I need it filtered. So maybe it's by priority, maybe it's by due date, maybe it's by type. You can pretty much do whatever you want and have a look at that. So this is only one area where you can access this information. I mean, literally, it's a dashboard. So you put in the information there that's most important to you. Another item I wanted to show you, just to show you how tight the integration is between CRM and Outlook. So I'm going to go over to the Customers folder now, and I'm going to open up an account. And you'll see here I've got my list of accounts here. And one of the accounts that I want to look at is I know just had lunch with Adrian from A Store, which is the name of the account, and I just want to follow up on that, and I don't want to forget about it. So what I did is I just right-clicked on this particular record, and you see over here where it says Follow Up. So most of you know you can do that in Outlook, and you've always been able to do that in Outlook, but this is new for CRM 2011, is I can actually do exactly the same thing, and I say, okay, I want to follow up on this by the end of this week. And you see over here the flag goes to a reddish color, and that is now a task within Outlook that I can take a look at, and I know that I need to do a follow-up with this guy over here. Do you see the A Store bracket sample? I now know that it's a task in my calendar. Now this is only Outlook. I'm not looking at anything else, and I've done a follow-up where I need to go and open up this record and see what I need to do. So now you can see up here, I'm back in Microsoft CRM. So the integration is incredibly tight between these two systems now. And you can do that for any record type that's listed within Outlook. Another really nice feature that I particularly like is the wall, or it's called What's New. And if anybody has a Facebook page, then you're already fairly familiar with what I'm coming across here. You can use this as almost like a little social media feed or an activity update status, and you can follow other users of your system. So maybe the operations manager wants to follow their key service techs or their team leads or something like that. Or you can also follow records. So if I'm the CEO and I've got my key client, chances are pretty good I want to know everything that's going on with that key client, and I can literally just click on What's New, and I can go to every opportunity, or sorry, not opportunity, but anything that I want set up as a trigger point, I can do that. So in this case, you can see that there was a new opportunity created, and if I want to go and have a look and see what that is, I can open that up, and I can see what the opportunity is. So it's literally a terrific way to keep up to date with what's going on, and it's filterable and set up by each individual user. So I'm not going to get inundated with updates on thousands of records. I'm only going to get the updates for the records and the followers that I want to know about. Let's talk a little bit about SharePoint integration. I'll give you a quick example of that. So I'm going to go into the sales area this time, and you can see there's a few more functions here. But basically, it's if you're a sales rep, everything you need is going to be in sales. If you do marketing, everything you need is going to be in marketing, and so on. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go in here and have a look at accounts. And I'm going to open up the A Store account. And you can see here that I've got my ribbon at the top. I can jump around this flat user interface here wherever I want to. So again, you can see this record wall came up, and now all I'm seeing is the record-specific activities or activity feeds that I want to follow. And I can, if I click Follow here, then I, as my owner, my name in this system is I'm CRM Administrator, which is not a great name. But if I click Follow, I'm now following all activities generated from this record based upon the rule set that's set up in the system. So again, I don't need to be flooded with everything, but I want to know when a new opportunity is opened up. I want to know when an opportunity is won, and so on and so forth, things like that. But what I was trying to do was get down to have a look at the SharePoint documents. So I was going to just show you a little bit of the navigation here. You know, we've got a map, we've got all kinds of stuff that we can do here. But if I go down to the documents area here, you can see that I'm now actually, although I'm still in CRM, and CRM is just part of Outlook, I actually have a SharePoint site opened up here. So you can see that I've got all my opportunities are listed for the A-Store account. So if I open that up, you can see that I'm going to have my opportunity that I'm working on, and I can drill down into that, and I can show you the documents for this particular opportunity. But bear in mind, I'm still in the account record. If I actually want to have a look and just see what records are associated, what documents are associated to an opportunity, I can navigate here, open the opportunity, and you can see here now that I've just drilled down to the opportunity level, and I have access to exactly the same documents. If I go to documents here, you can see now. So I hope you got that. I know it's getting a little clicky and there's a lot of stuff on the screen, but what I wanted to show is that if you're looking at the account record, you actually can drill down and see all documents associated to that account wherever they happen to be stored and linked within the record. So if you have an account that has associated contacts and has opportunities and they all have records associated with them, you can access that right from the account. You don't have to hunt around and go to each individual CRM record to see what documents are there. Conversely, if all you want to see is the documents that are associated to this particular opportunity, they're right there at your fingertips. So it's really tried to accommodate those that manage with CRM versus those that use it on a day-to-day basis to do work. Finally, I wanted to touch on dialogues. So I just set up a dialogue in leads. And it's a very, very simple dialogue. So I'm going to open up a lead here. And this is a lead record, and you can see it's got your typical information that you need to store here. And a lead is just simply sort of an indication that you know, there's an opportunity that somebody wants to do business with you. So what I mean by that is we've got our what's a good example? You know, you're at your kid's soccer game and you happen to be talking to somebody and you swap business cards. That's a lead. Somebody to follow up with, you know, later on in the course of the next few days. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trigger the dialogue by clicking Start Dialogue. And my sales manager has already set up a lead qualification dialogue. So that's the one I'm going to use. I'm going to click on that, and I've just made it very, very simple. But you can see here that I've got a lead qualification form, and the first thing that I created here was, what is your first name? And then I put a little prompt in here that says, you know, so in case for some reason I've forgotten, I can just type in first name and delete the prompt. I didn't do it for the second one, so I can just put in Ryan Mullaney there, and then I asked for, what's your favorite color? And I just simply, you know, put in a little dialogue that says red, blue, or green. So I'm going to select blue, and I'm done. One of the things I should have shown you, though, is, can you see over here there's a tip? So I can get the full first name. So you can put in little prompts and helpers. And in addition, the dialogue is smart enough to skip questions if they're no longer relevant to what you're talking about. So, and you can have as many of these dialogues associated to as many different record types as you want. So this is a lead qualification. I've got my lead qualified now. I can click on the summary and see, you know, some of the summaries. You know, obviously this isn't terribly sophisticated, so you're not going to see much here. But with an advanced dialogue where you're trying to manage a service activity or you're trying to get some requirements for a sale or something along those lines, this can be quite powerful. What I can then do is I can click Next, and you can see that's it. These can be multi-page dialogues too, but in my case this is just a simple page. And then I can click Finish. And the other thing I wanted to show you now is that this dialogue session is associated to this lead right down here. You can see in this case I've got two dialogue sessions, both called lead qualification. So if I'm doing a follow-up, I can actually see what the records are, and I can see what the questions have been answered, and I can go in there and have a look. So going back to sort of the furnace repair example, you know, you could have somebody who really knows nothing about furnaces who could ask the right questions, such as, you know, what's your address, where's the furnace located, what's the square footage, what's the furnace type, is it a high efficiency, or whatever you need to know, And you can trap all that information in a dialog, shoot it over to the service tech, and they can get it on their smartphone and see that dialog. They could even do an estimate, literally while they're on site somewhere else, or at a minimum, they can get the information they need to know whether or not they can do the job and when it can be scheduled, that sort of information. So very powerful. It's a nice way to create operations manuals and have them live and useful at all times within your system. Okay. Now I'm going to, where am I here? I'm going to close this lead. And I'm going to do just a little bit more navigation here and just give you some idea what this system's about. So I mentioned the ribbon toolbar up at the top here. So if I were going to create a new opportunity, I could go into Sales, Opportunities, go up to the top here and I'd click New. And I could fill in, whatever I needed to. So, maybe we need a new furnace. We can select our product type in the drop-downs here. And this is a custom field that we just put together the other day for a demo. So I might throw that in there. Set who our potential customer is. And the nice thing is we can just type in the first couple of letters, hit Tab, and it'll find it. Or if there's a couple of them, then we can click on that. And you can see it gives us a sample of the A store, or maybe it's Adrian that I'm talking about. In this case, it's just A store. Set my description, and then I can start processing this lead. And I can do it through multiple stages. So I can do maybe my first stage is just contact validation, and my second stage is requirements gathering. And that staging process is available for any record type again. So if we were to flip it on its head and say, okay, we're a service company and we need to stage our service process, we may have a requirements stage as stage 1, and then stage 2 might be the delivery stage, and then stage 3 could be the follow-up stage, so we have some kind of a customer satisfaction function. And each of those stages is marked by what tasks need to be done in that particular stage. So, if I save this, if it lets me, if there's workflow associated here, it will actually kick off an opportunity in a minute, and it'll tell me, okay, we're in this stage and we need to do this aspect. So we need to do some kind of, contact qualification. Once the operator closes that task, it'll automatically kick it to the next stage, which, again, might be service delivery, and so on and so forth. So it's incredibly flexible, and there's a lot of different aspects that we can use and make, different things happen depending on what your business needs. I'm going to jump over to accounts a little bit here, open up the A-Store account again, and I just wanted to show you some of the other record types that are here. So we can click on Activities, and you can see there's the forward activities. These are the activities that are due. Remember my dashboard? This is where you'd actually set that activity, and then it would show up in the dashboard as something that, well, in this case, it's late, so I should have done it yesterday, and I didn't. So all I have to do is close that off. So I'm going to mark that as closed by saying Close Phone Call, and it says, did I make the phone call? There's a couple of different options here, and these are modifiable. I can close that, click OK. And now if I close this record, you'll see that if I click on Closed Activities, it will now show up here. All right. So that's how we keep track of all our customer interactions, and obviously we can develop reports and so on from that as well. Okay, it looks like I'm going over time. I do apologize for that. If there's any questions or anybody wants to see anything specific, let Stacy know. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to sort of a close and just to give a quick example of what the what the license costs are for this system. Once I find it here. Okay. So here's some sample license costs. Licensing comes in two flavors. There's the online version, which is literally hosted by Microsoft in a huge data center either in Houston or in Chicago. And that cost is $51 per month. And that's a minimum of 5 users. And what you saw in my demo and what we talked about, you get the full functionality. There's no add-ons. The only other thing Microsoft could possibly charge you is for extra data storage, and that's you got to fill up 5 gigs of data first, and that's pretty tough to do. If you want an on-premise system, your licensing costs are around $1,000 a user. but that varies greatly depending on what you want for maintenance programs, and there's a lot of aspects to that. Microsoft has a great program to split the cost into 3 parts over 3 years. There's a lot of different aspects to that. With the on-premise system, you also have to have a server license, which is roughly twice the cost of one of these user licenses. And you can see here where it says user or device. What that means is you can either have a single license dedicated to one user on as many devices as they want. So you could add it to their smartphone, to their desktop at home, whatever you want. Or you can have the license on a single device, so one PC that has multiple users. So great for a call center that has split shifts. So if you've got a call center that runs from, say, 6 to 12 with one shift and 12 till 6 with the other shift, then you only need one desk, one desktop, and one license for those 2 users. Okay. In terms of actual implementation of the project, so the labor costs beyond that, the price varies quite a lot depending on what you want us to do versus what you're prepared to do. I mean, the range of prices of projects that I've done have varied from very, very little, which is essentially just training and showing you how to use what's out of the box, up into the 6 figures. So it's very hard for me to give you a price range. What you're better off doing is trying to determine how sophisticated your requirements are, or how many requirements you have. By that I mean, what's a requirement? It's what you need this system to do. So you start with a shopping list of everything you want this to do, and we'll help you with that, of course. And you go through that list. So let's say you come up with 20 requirements. Well, that's not a whole lot. So that's probably a fairly low-cost project. Versus, of which probably, 17 or 18 you can do right out of the box, and we just have to teach you how to operate it. Versus maybe a, something with like a very sophisticated large system with hundreds of requirements. Well, that price can be anywhere in the, the $50,000 to $250,000 range. I mean, it's a very, very wide range of products that we can, of prices that we end up having to charge for an implementation. Stacy, have there been any questions that we need to talk about?
No, Ryan. It looks like that's about it.
Okay.
But everyone, if you do think of something a little later on, as I said at the beginning, feel free to email us. You can email either Ryan or I directly, or a great place would be info@assistus.com.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to really thank everybody for attending. We didn't even have many drop-offs. We're still pretty much at the full attendee list, so that's very impressive. Thank you so much. Please feel free to call me or email me or whatever you want for any questions that you have. And I'd be happy to take you through a more focused demonstration of what you're looking for, or just talk about capabilities, or whatever you want. But again, I'd really like to thank you for spending this time, and we'll talk to you soon. Stacy is going to send some follow-up emails with links to this video. We've recorded this video, so she'll send some links to it, and we'll send you a little bit of follow-up information in terms of white papers and capacity sheets, functionality, that sort of stuff. So again, thanks a lot, and that's all the time we got. Take care.